In the last video called Ancient Cart Ruts, this was one of the main images that I used, and I didn't put any kind of time frame in there. Well, this is how old mainstream archaeologists say that these things are at this site anyway. So we got 5.3 million years, and wouldn't you have thought that this would have worn down by now, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't really get into going searching for many more on that, and I just got into what I thought there were, pretty quickly, and then got into something else. Now, obviously, I said as well that some event in the past, what they're calling mud flood, has taken place. The best one I've made is the one in Rome. In my opinion, took place in more places than just Europe. I've said before that in India and Pakistan, according to science even, there are areas which are almost 2 miles deep in volcanic ash. I've shown you places in Peru, so this event, whenever it was, I can't place a time frame more than just a few hundred to 1,000 years, right? I will never place a firm time frame on anything or say who exactly was constructing this stuff. The questions that none of us can answer. But I am not going to involve myself in saying that every time that we see a hill, some buildings buried, right, that some event has taken place. They do build buildings up and down hills, They dig into it and then lay concrete, but fair enough, there's been some good researchers that have found a lot of anomalies, and I agree with most of it, right? But mixing images and images that can be made black and white, like I mentioned, these two here are, I would say, from World War One, World War Two. Anyway, it's the right hand image. I'm getting you to look at the pillar and how that has been surfaced in something which I will get to shortly. Another thing is calling all these sites star forts, right? Just because something is built in like a castle-like shape, you can't just call it a star fort. Star forts are something completely different, right? Now you can see something on the outside of this which I would call solidification, right? Now whether or not what you're looking at down the side of this was smothered or surfaced over what this thing sits on, I don't know, right? But I know what calcification is, solidification and mineralization. Now, whether or not some of these mistakes are just from people pressing record and doing a live stream for an hour or so, a couple of hours, which if I did that, I can tell you that I would be making plenty of mistakes as well. But these mistakes never seem to get addressed. Something else is how many people I've seen saying, well, I've got 200 and odd videos in my playlist. Well, you go look at them and 95% of them are just live streams. It costs nothing, no time to just do a live stream and sit there speaking with a list of images. Now, coffins have always been made with wood and always will be, right? So whatever event took place and turned these into what you're looking at here, now hopefully in the near future they end up excavating this site, because this is just unbelievable. You can see what lies below the site in the background, which I'm going to look at. I will be looking at this image later in the video, namely the pillars and what's been surfaced over them. For now, I just want you to look at the roof, what the pillars are holding up. You can see the square beaming which is holding the floor up, which is what, in my opinion, is lying below what archaeologists have reconstructed into a temple. You can look at it, it's directly in front of you. if you look at the cross beams I've just zoomed in on this site, it appears to be some type of plating that's over something, like something's been attached to it. I'm going to show you multiple like that, and how many of these will have been built with wood and concrete. None of them were carved from rock, which is the narrative that we're all meant to believe. A lot of people seem to get annoyed at me saying that, what, are you going against there being ancient technology in the past? Or what? Well, no, I'm always showing it. I'm just not delving into something that we can't prove. Something of frequency, some, magic basically. All I can point out is stuff that I can prove myself. Right now, this, we can, if these things were made out of wood, which in my opinion they are, well, I've just shown you something from about 80 years ago, which is how they create the tops of these pillars, right? They are mostly made of wood. They might get plastered over, but they're certainly surfaced in something. None of them are just one piece of granite transported around somewhere and lifted into place. None of them are. These things in India, in my opinion, could have been something like ebony, or this is also layered in something, whether in ancient times or by archaeologists to either preserve them or to fool you. We just took a look at a good few images from the Parthenon in Athens. Looking at this image here, I didn't have enough time to just go and research, dig into how they are finishing off these pillars. They're obviously finding rubble. I don't know if they're using some type of substance to create the rest of these shapes, or if they're sending them off to be CNC'd or something. It's something you would have to look into. But just looking at some of the anomalies anyway, if you look in the top left, we can see that they're not huge blocks. I don't know about the ones that they are replacing, but you can see three lines here. This image shows you better. But the next one, if you look even at the top of the pillar, that is also a base that's about 2 inches thick. But if you look at the nail holes that I'm pointing out, I mean, we're looking at something that used to be wood that's since calcified, because I would say that they are nail holes, and the decoration pieces that once went on the outside had to be replaced many times over in the past. Now, I could never state this enough times, no matter how long I carry on doing this, that archaeologists, when they find any of these sites, they build them to the narrative that they were taught, right? And they build them along the way. Archaeology isn't done like it was 100 years ago. Everybody needs to keep that in mind. Instead of making videos on how the sites are presented these days, right? Now, looking at this, it's obviously some type of Greek or Roman site, but we can see that the pillars have got some type of surfacing on them, which is falling off. This is in St. Petersburg, and some builder has been asked to do a repair work. It's the top of a roof building, similar to the Parthenon I've just shown, and it's originally made from wood, and you can see that it's got fake stonework over it, right? Anyway, this side here, I don't know where this is at all, right? But we can see the fake layering over this that makes it look like some type of stone. This Greek one here, the dark area, is where the metal framing has rusted through. I want you to look at the bottom of these pillars for the rest of this video. But at the top you can see that these were indeed wooden lats, and you can see how thick they are on the left hand side where it's rusted through. Right, I'm going to show you some images from Baalbek, which are mostly concrete with some type of surfacing over. And then there's some sites which obviously had metal rebar running through them, and then I'll get back to you. If you go check out the two-part series I made called Ancient to Modern Day Surfacing, I get well into the Parthenon here, describing how the entire inside of it is some type of enamel, quartz granite spray, something like that, which I showed at the start of this video. But looking at the outside of this, because I'm sick of these people saying, you know, the red brick crowd. Well, I'm pointing out a wooden framework in this particular site, right? Because you can't just build an entire wall from brick, right? Because if one part of it falls down, it will fetch the entire side down. But in that series on the Parthenon here, if you look at the pillar on the outside, you can see square patchwork. And I showed the fork granite patchwork that you put over these. It's like hard cardboard, and then they spray it in something, right? But if you look at the line that runs all the way from the top to the bottom, that video will explain more, which is the same as this. Well, if you like that, ladies and gentlemen, and you want to help the channel moving forward, you can press on the link in a pinned comment, which will be in every video from now on. Thank you.